Can you gentlemen hear us okay?
Yes, we can.
All right.
Okay, it is 5:30. We will call this Board of Adjustment public hearing for 28th, 2022 to order. We'll begin by introducing ourselves. I am Greg Cardish from the town of Oshkosh.
Sue Drexler, Town of Algoma.
Larry Krischer from the town of Winchester.
Tom Truschel, Town of Alma.
And Daniel LaFave, Code Enforcement Officer here with Winnebago County. I'm going to read the appeals process. So the appeals process is as follows. An aggrieved person may appeal a final decision made by the Board of Adjustment by filing an appeal with a court of competent jurisdiction within 30 days of the final decision.
Or the decision will not be made this evening. It will be made next Thursday, July 7th at 7:30 in the morning. And you can contact the zoning office after 9 o'clock for our decision. Anyone wishing to give testimony this evening need to be sworn in prior to giving testimony. And we want to have one person speak at a time. So our first one tonight is John Cush at 7704 Cutoff Lane in the town of Wolf River. I don't have the legal description right.
The legal description being part of Government Law 2, Section 25, Township 20 North, Range 14 East, Town of Wolf River, Winnebago County, Wisconsin.
You, John?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, come forward, please, with sworn in by Karen.
Raise your right hand. Do solemnly swear the statements you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
State your name and address.
John Kish, Kish, 6150 Pleasant Valley Road, Grafton, Wisconsin, 53024.
All right, John, tell us what you'd like to do. Your project.
I think I'm here for the setback on the northeast border, because there's only 5 feet. And I think the variance is because there's not enough room to put the ground, so we are going to be putting in a concrete retaining wall along that.
This is, so you also, you're looking for, relief from the floodplain.
Yes.
So that'd be on both sides of the house.
No, on the other side, because we have more than 15 feet, I thought that didn't apply.
Oh, you do have one. Okay, I was,
Well,
on your,
yeah,
your
it's
survey
15
shows it 12 and a
is
half.
it.
We have
Two-
12 and a half with our variance application here. 12 and a half on the north and then 5 and 7.3 on the south.
So you will need a retaining wall on both sides.
Unless they can slope it down.
Slope it down somewhere, right?
Yeah,
But to go out 15 feet and drop it a foot,
yeah, then you need
you're the
something.
neighbors.
Now, on the driveway side, we had planned to just have that at grade level.
still be sloping from the foundation towards the.
No, there'll be an exposed foundation on that side.
But you still have to be above the floodplain, right?
Yeah, the first floor will be above.
So
You still need
have
that
to
1
slope.
foot of fill extending out from your structural walls.
But does that 1 foot of fill have to be at floodplain?
Above,
At or above.
1 foot above floodplain.
You have to have fill
That's what you're asking the variance for, is that fill
on the northeast side.
on all sides. You need 15 feet around the entirety of your structure.
Okay. So,
Because you're meeting all the other setbacks as of right now. The only thing you need is that floodplain fill. So it's 1 foot in elevation, extending 15 feet out from your principal structure walls.
And you will have that on the front and the back of the structure because you have no distance there, though, on the sides you don't.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay, it's gonna create some problems. And there's no way that we could, like I said, we cannot have an exposed foundation on that side.
As long as you have that 1 foot of elevation, you can, but This was the whole purpose for the variance.
I'm sorry, I thought it was just on that one side.
Place Martin so nicely, didn't,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's no elevation. See some contours, and usually they have, sure, retaining wall, elevation on the retaining wall. Not there now, but, you look a little confused yet. Right, it's not that easy, but
Well, I understand the on the 5 foot, I thought we had enough room, and I was using a lot of the guidance from Martin and Nysen, so. If that's something they can miss, then I guess we'll have to have a retaining wall on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, would that be an issue for you if you had a retaining wall on that north?
It is because we're trying to put a driveway over there, so that's going, it's gonna be 1 foot fill plus the retaining wall. So, I'm gonna lose almost 2 feet.
Well, it'd be 1 foot of fill coming from the foundation. Going out,
Yes.
and then the retaining wall
Correct,
there.
so that'll be roughly 2 feet from the.
Well, the retaining wall can be right on the lot line.
Yeah, it can be right up to the lot line. There's no setback for a retaining wall unless you're on the lakeside. So you're already meeting that 75 feet.
So you could have that retaining wall on the northeast side.
How close can the retaining wall be to the structure?
There's,
Whatever the distance
yeah,
is.
whatever
You
you
gotta have
like.
15 feet. You're required to have 15 feet. You only have 12 and a half.
Right,
So
so-
the retaining wall can be right at. right
If
at
I'm
the lot line.
locating a retaining wall in relation to the building, how close can I get it to the building?
Well, as far away as you can, up to 15.
I mean, right now you're proposing 12 and a half feet, so you have to meet that 12 and a half feet.
But on the other side, it's gonna be, 5 feet.
Right.
So you're stating 5 and 7.3 feet. So that retaining wall is gonna have to be right at that 5 and 7.3 feet.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
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 because the taper. But could I put the retaining wall a foot off of the building structure?
As long as you have that 1 foot of fill in there somewhere, yeah.
Okay,
Is the proposal for 5 feet on one side and 8 feet on the other?
No, that's from.
Okay.
Those are
from the
just the
back.
setbacks.
From the back is 5. That's just how I'm.
Just wondering.
Just on that. So.
Right, I just wondered.
so I
if
could
for
have
some
1 foot of
reason
fill,
it's
I could have my
available.
building structure, 1 foot of fill, the retaining wall, and then I can have flat ground.
As long as you have that 1 foot of fill extending 7.3 and 5 feet on the south side and 12.5 feet on the north side, you can have that retaining wall wherever within there. You just need to have that 1 foot out to what you said you will on all sides.
1 foot of dirt depth. To
An
raise it up
elevation.
to the floodplain elevation. So you're gonna have to go up the lot lines on both sides with your retaining walls.
Well, I guess what I'm saying, why can't I move the retaining wall on the driveway side right up against the house?
So far, you can't ask for a lesser variance now. You're stuck with what you told us.
Well, I see what you mean.
You're stuck at 7.3 and 5.
No, so because of so that's where the retaining wall has to be. I can't move the retaining wall closer to the house.
No, because you would be missing out on that footage of fill. Or are you gonna put the retaining wall next to your house and still have that 1 foot of fill extending beyond that retaining wall?
Yeah, okay.
You see what I'm saying? See what we're saying? You gotta have, the requirement is 15 feet from the foundation out. You don't have that. Okay, so that's where you're having the retaining wall on the south side at 5 feet and 7.3 feet from the foundation because a lot tapers. So on the north side, you're gonna do the exact same thing. On the lot line, not foot from foundation, it's gotta be up as far as you can get it,
Okay, so if it's less than 15 feet, then the retaining wall has to be,
as far as you can get it to that point.
all right. Okay, that kind of clears up. I didn't realize it had. You could adjust it, okay.
No.
Well, then, there'll be retaining wall on both sides, that's the lot line.
Yeah, we'll have to address that in our.
Yeah.
Staff, make that one of the conditions.
Okay.
But you're good on the front and back of the house. So
Yes.
that was just taper
Correct,
to the back to its weight.
yes.
appeal.
So if I'm understanding this right, the driveway is gonna go up over that 1 foot of fill and then come back down the garage.
That's what we want to do, okay.
And I was trying to keep it flat
Right,
and keep the retaining wall closer to the house.
right. I understand what you're trying to do. Yeah, that's what it would be. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
Tom?
Yeah, the new garage is going to basically sit behind where the present garage is, and the present garage is disappearing.
Correct. Yeah, we're trying to move it as far back in the lot as possible.
It's quite a good one back.
Yes.
Just as a point of fun, are you gonna be able to save those beautiful hospitals?
They're, they are up, they're up for grabs, because they probably won't be there. That's odd, that's odd.
Okay, any other questions? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, the next one on schedule tonight is Lamar Central Outdoor LLC. Sign a property appeal of a denial of permit on property south of 1498 Black Oak School Road in the town of Kymline. And I'll have legal description read.
Legal description, being a part of the northwest quarter of the southwest quarter of section 15, allowing township 17 north, range 16 east, town of Nikamai, Winnebago County, Wisconsin.
Okay, again, anyone wishing to give testimony have to be sworn in prior to giving testimony. Gentlemen, both of you give testimony, sworn in prior to that.
Well, this is Attorney Travis Shears. I'm willing to be sworn in, but I want it to be understood that I'm going to be making arguments on behalf of my client, Lamar Central Outdoors. I'm not necessarily going to be providing any testimony, but I'm willing to be sworn in order to do that, to meet your requirements.
Yeah, so we can have it on the record. Karen, if you would, please.
You solemnly swear the statements you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. I guess we'll have to get you guys sworn in right away as long as you're doing it.
Well, I'm not gonna be, well, we're gonna go with him first and he's.
All right,
it's
prior,
fine,
after
guys.
that. Okay, that's fine. All right, Mr. Shear, would you like to give your statement as far as your appeal goes, please?
Thank you. So as I mentioned, I'm Attorney Travis Shears. I'm here on behalf of Lamar Central Outdoors LLC. Before I get started, I was provided a pop-up that said that this meeting is being recorded. Are we comfortable that we have a recording going of this meeting, or is there a transcript that will be prepared by a court reporter? I could only see a few people in the room, so I'm unable to tell.
Yeah, can you turn that just a little bit
They only see them.
This
They don't
way?
see you.
that way, the other way,
They only see
the other way.
the board. This way?
That's, yeah, this one here. Yeah, just turn a little bit more. So we get Tom in there too. Okay, can you see the board? There's four of us on the board. Yes.
Okay, I can see all four of you. Thank you. And is it just being recorded through Zoom, or is there a court reporter in the room?
Oh, we have a court reporter in the room.
Okay, excellent. And I will try to speak as loudly and clearly as I can. I understand. I appreciate the option to appear by Zoom, as we are both up in Green Bay. So I'll try and make it as easy on you guys as I can. But if you can't hear me for some reason, please let me know.
Will do. Thank you.
Same to you, please.
All right. And I guess before I kind of get started with supplementing my argument, has the board been presented with any sort of packet of materials? I'm mostly concerned with my notice of appeal that
Yes.
we had sent in.
Yes, we were provided with your cover letter along with the notice of appeal and the basis for the appeal.
Okay.
Signed by you.
All right.
Exhibits.
And along with the exhibits that were attached to it.
All right. Was there any interpretation from any members of Winnebago County? Perhaps Kerry Rowe provided some interpretation of the appeal or a position in the packet of materials that you received?
No.
Okay. All right. I just want to check on that because we didn't receive any materials on our end from anyone from Winnebago County, and oftentimes we're presented that opportunity to take a look at those materials before. But it sounds like to me, the materials you have in front of you are all things that I've submitted and that I've seen before.
That's correct.
All right, excellent. So I won't spend too much time then regurgitating what I mentioned in our notice of appeal. But what I want to do is I want you as the board to consider that I believe that Mr. Kerry Rowe was incorrect in his interpretation. If you look at Exhibit B of my materials that I submitted in my appeal, he lists 2 reasons for not approving our sign permit. First, he indicates that the sign is a non-conforming since it is an off-premise directional sign, and then he mentions the ordinance section that exceeds size and height standards. And our response to that is that what we are dealing with is an advertising sign. It's frankly what is termed a billboard. Billboard isn't a term that you use in your ordinance, but that's what this is. This is not an off-premise directional sign. An off-premise directional sign is defined in your code as a permanent off-premise sign that provides information indicating the location of a business, etc., which is located on a local road. And when I hear that and read that definition, I think of turn right in 2,000 feet, turn right in 1,500 feet. That's a directional sign. We have a sign that's going to have information regarding off-premises businesses, but it's not going to be directing them in any way to turn or to do any of that. So our sign is not an off-premise directional sign, and it should not, you should not look to section 23.12-12 when you're interpreting our sign permit application. The second reason that Mr. Rowe explained for denying the permit is that we have failed to meet the requirements of section 23.13-8 sub B. And this is a mitigation requirement, which indicates that we cannot put up an electronic message sign unless we remove 5 signs within 3 miles. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. But before we get there, I think it's important to look at the ordinance section 23.12-9. And I'm hopeful perhaps that you have a copy of the ordinances in front of you, but in the event that you don't, I'm going to read the relevant portion of that. So 23.12-9 is for signs allowed without a permit. And it mentions tables that are later in the ordinance, but it indicates the following: a copy change, also known as a face change to an existing sign, shall not require a zoning permit, provided that the change occurs within the limits of the existing sign area. So in regards to that sentence, I believe our sign permit application falls within there. We are not.
What section are you referring to? Section
23.12-9.
Okay, thank you.
We're not asking to expand the size of the sign. What we're asking to do is to change one of the faces of the sign to an electronic format. Excuse me, a digital format. And the ordinance further reads, a copy change may include an electronic message display. However, it must meet all electronic message display standards of this division and section 23.13-8 sub B for non-conforming off-premise signs, if applicable. Okay. And what I would like to do is I would like someone, and perhaps Mr. Rowe who I don't believe is present, but to show me where our sign is a non-conforming sign. There's no indication as to the size of an off-premise sign in the ordinance. The ordinance in those tables that follow section 23.12-9 all reference on-premise locations. So they reference in 23.12 sub 10 on-premise signage in a residential district. In 23.12-11, they mention signs in a commercial mixed-use or industrial zoning district, and they all mention on-premise signage. There's no mention in here of any size restrictions of an off-premise sign, and I'm not seeing anything indicating that off-premise signs are banned or are unallowed or prohibited in any way in the ordinance. So to me, I don't see where this sign would be considered a non-conforming off-premise sign. And then therefore, I don't believe it's subject to that 23.13-8 sub B, that mitigation requirement, that 5 signs be taken down. So that's the bulk of our main argument here, is that I don't think we have a non-conforming sign, a non-conforming off-premise sign, because there's nothing in the sign ordinance which regulates their size and is telling me that our size is too large for an off-premise sign. In regards to that section, 23.13 sub 8 sub B, frankly, I find this requirement that 5 existing non-conforming off-premise signs that exceed the maximum sign area of the sign that is intended to be converted must be removed. That's a distinct substantive due process issue. Frankly, what the ordinance does is it treats sign owners differently based upon the number of signs that are owned. Further, that portion of the ordinance treats on-premise and off-premise signs differently. There's no requirement for an on-premise sign owner to take down 5 signs if they want to put up some sort of digital display. So what I think that you should do today is you should determine that Mr. Rowe was incorrect in applying the off-premise directional sign provision. And I think you should determine that there are no size restrictions in regards to our sign, that our sign is not a non-conforming sign, and it's not subject to 23.1. And then if you do not do that, I think you should ignore the provisions of 23.13 sub 8, the 5 existing sign mitigation requirement, because it's frankly unfair and should not have an impact on your decision and should be ignored. So I'm going to ask you to overturn Mr. Rowe's decision. We're going to ask that you approve the sign permit as submitted, and I appreciate your time.
So can I ask you a question? So basically what you're saying is your argument is based on definition of what kind of sign this is? Is that pretty much what I'm hearing?
That's partial. What I would say is that we have an off-premise sign, that we do not have an off-premise directional sign based upon the definition of off-premise directional sign. That is correct. And I would challenge anyone to tell me where an off-premise sign has size restrictions or where our sign is considered a non-conforming sign.
I'm confused as to why there wasn't a request for a variance. Maybe I'm not understanding the process, rather than, and then it would have gone through, another process, rather than just saying that there's something wrong with the, they didn't like.
This is an appeal of an administrative decision.
Mhm.
Those all come to the Board of Adjustment.
Mr. Rowe is here to testify. So-
I'll add that.
Hold on.
No,
before
you
you-
haven't been sworn in.
Yeah.
Oh,
We haven't
Yeah,
started.
hold on before we.
If Is Terry gonna just, testify?
He's gonna be the only one I'm not testifying,
Okay.
Mr. Rose.
If you swear.
So raise your right hand.
I have questions first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Travis,
Yes.
is the billboard or the electronic sign going to be giving an address of a business, a location of the business?
I think it could, but I don't know that it necessarily has to, or that it will on all of the copy that will be presented on that billboard. I think there will be messages displayed that do not mention the address of any other business.
Thank you.
So this sign is going to change messages. Correct? It's going to be people, there'll be different things flashing,
Well, I would correct you there. There won't be things flashing.
but it will change language, change the message.
It will change I saw you kind of doing a hand motion, but it will be one instantaneous change. And I believe the state has certain requirements that prevent that message from changing. I don't know off the top of my head, every so many seconds. So we'll be complying with all those state requirements as well, to ensure that this is not distracting in any way and that it falls in line with any other electronic or digital sign that you've seen perhaps on the highway or off the highway already.
Questions for? We'll have testimony from Mr. Rowe. Stand over.
yeah,
See 'em?
yeah, you're in there.
You solemnly swear the statements you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
State your name and address.
Terry Rhodes, Land Administrator, 112 Otter Ave, Oshkosh.
And Ms. Frederick, I'm going to ask that a couple of items be marked as exhibits. You can just write it or something. Okay. Attorney Sure.
One second.
Okay. Attorney Sure, I am providing to the board copies of the code that you've referenced. And what's been marked as Exhibit 1 is Section 23.31 B97. That's 1. That's 197. So here's Exhibit 1. Exhibit 1. Exhibit 2 is 23.12-12. This is 2. This is number 2. through 2. And Exhibit 3 is 23.13-8. This is number 3. Number 3, number 3, number 3, and number 3. Copies?
Yes. Yes.
So, Mr. Rowe, you testified that you are the zoning administrator for Winnebago County.
Yes.
And how long have you been zoning administrator for Winnebago County?
14 years.
Okay. And prior to that, did you work for Winnebago County in the planning or zoning area?
Yes.
In what capacity?
Code enforcement officer,
How long were you a code enforcement officer?
20 years.
So is it fair to say you've reviewed a lot of applications and permit requests?
Yes.
Hundreds?
Yes.
In February of 2022, did Lamar submit a zoning permit application for the county's consideration?
Yes.
And what were they asking to do?
Place a billboard with a digital billboard of the same size.
So essentially, it was just a static billboard and replacing it with a digital?
Yes.
And was the sign they were attempting to replace non-conforming?
Yes.
And was that because the existing sign, the static sign that was in place before the ordinance was passed, made it non-conforming?
Yes.
On March 15th, 2022, you denied the Lamar's permit application, is that correct?
Yes.
And was the first step in your decision-making to determine the definition of sign directional?
Yes.
And I am drawing your attention to what's been marked as Exhibit 1, which references 23.31B197. Do you see that reference?
Yes.
And Mr. Rowe, is that part of the Winnebago County Code?
Yes.
Can you basically tell us what that definition is?
Definition is a permanent off-premise sign that provides information indicating the location. For example, name, direction, and/or distance of a business, club, worship facility, or other such organization which is located on a local road. For example, town road.
So in other words, it could be, that sign could be referencing either a name or a direction or a distance. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us why you went to the definition of sign directional, which is referenced in 197, as opposed to going to just a plain sign, which is referenced in 193?
Because this is an off-premise sign.
And how did you reach that determination?
There's no business present on the property where this current sign is located.
So as a result, it fell into the definition of the sign directional. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, if we continue on, reviewing the section involving off-premise directional signs, is that 23.12-12, which is Exhibit 2?
Yes.
And was there a maximum signage area referenced in that section of the code in terms of how big a sign could be?
Yes.
And what is the maximum signage area?
Parent 4 in that section states maximum sign area, 32 square feet when single-sided, 32 square feet per side when double-sided.
And are we talking about a single side or double side sign?
Quite honestly, I'm not sure.
Okay. But if it were double sided, it would be, what, 64? Are we talking about?
32 square feet on each side,
Right, which would be
Yes.
64 square feet?
yes.
Okay. What is the Lamar property signage area?
I believe the application, one of the exhibits indicated it was 672 square feet.
So significantly more than 32 square feet.
Yes,
Is there a section of the code dealing with non-conforming signs?
yes.
And what section of the code is that?
23.13-8.
And what does that section of the code say?
Off-premise sign, parent B, a non-conforming off-premise sign that exceeds the maximum sign area allowed in this chapter and that has a static message display shall not be converted in whole or in part to an electronic message display unless the owner agrees to remove 5 existing non-conforming off-premise signs that exceed the maximum area provided. 1, the sign area of the sign to be removed is at least 80% of the area of the sign to be converted. 2, the sign to be removed is located within 3 miles of the sign to be converted. 3, the sign to be removed is completely removed before work commences on the sign to be converted. And 4, the site of the removed sign is restored to the satisfaction of the zoning administrator.
And this is sections of the code that have been passed by the Winnebago County Board, is that correct?
Yes,
And did Lamar submit in its application reference to removing 5 existing non-conforming off-premise signs?
no,
So to wrap things up, is it true that you denied this permit because the sign is non-conforming?
yes,
And it's non-conforming because of its size?
yes,
And because it's an off-premise directional sign?
yes,
And it's off-premise because it's not on the property, or there's nothing on the property that is referenced in Lamar's zoning permit application where they want to put the sign.
yes,
So there's no business there. And again, you denied the permit since the requirements of 2313-8 were not met. Is that
Yes.
fair to say? Is there anything else that you believe is important for the board to know in your decision?
I did review the permit and had corresponded with the owner by email that I was unable to issue the permit due to the reasons previously stated in this testimony. And I was subsequently asked to formally deny the permit and provide them with the copies of that permit.
I have no further questions.
I'm just going to add one thing. There was a question that the board member Drexler asked earlier with regard to why isn't this a variance application? The reason is this is an appeal and you cannot grant variances for provisions of an ordinance. That requires an ordinance amendment. Variances are for dimensional standards only.
I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and share.
May I have a few, please?
Yep, yes, sir.
Mr. Rowe, in your testimony you just gave, did you explain all of the reasons that you denied the sign permit?
No,
Are you indicating now that there are other reasons you denied the sign permit?
No,
Okay. I guess I'm confused. Are all the reasons that you denied the sign permit located in your formal denial of the sign permit and what you testified to tonight?
I don't know that I specified in the email all the specifics. I summarized them in the permit when I returned the denied permit.
Are you telling the board that there are other reasons you denied the sign permit other than what you testified to tonight?
No, the only reasons are the ones stated tonight.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sorry about the confusion.
That's fine. The definition of directional sign you mentioned it starts with an off-premise sign. Are all off-premise signs directional signs?
Not necessarily.
And what would make an off-premise sign not a directional sign?
I could have a sign that just simply states a business is located in Neenah.
What if it was a sign for advertising for the Minnesota Vikings? Would that be a directional sign?
No,
Are you aware of what type of copy will be presented on this sign?
I don't know for sure. I did see a picture of peppermint hippo maybe on it. I don't know that that is what's being proposed, but I think that was in the exhibit.
But you're unaware now if the Minnesota Vikings are intending to use this sign to advertise. Is that correct? You just don't know, correct?
That is correct.
I don't have anything further. Thank you, Mr. Rowe.
Well,
May I have some input?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe? I am showing you one of the items in the packet that Lamar supplied, which is entitled Panel Number 40183. It has a picture of a highway. For the scenic, and you can see it's my copy is colored. When you just responded to cross-examination that you believed you thought there was some pink hippo, is that what is marked with yellow around what appears to be a billboard?
yes,
And the yellow, based on the rest of the material, does that essentially show what you believe the athlete is trying to point out?
yes,
Because again, there's a yellow border around that sign.
yes.
I have no further questions.
And just one to follow, please. And Mr. Rowe, you're aware that billboards change copy, correct?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
I have a question. Mr. Rowe. Referring back to Mr. Shearer's comment earlier, is there any ordinance or anything that for just billboards as stated, other than what's in here for signage?
I'm sorry,
Any requirements for billboards, off-premise or on-premise billboards? I was looking, I didn't
the
see.
term billboard does not appear in here,
Okay.
okay? But the billboard is exactly what I had indicated, an off-premise sign.
Okay. Other signs, I'm just for my own clarity, other signs on Highway 41 are larger than 32 square feet.
I'm sorry, are large.
Are larger than 32 square feet, which is 4 by 8, basically, a sheet of plywood, right? Are those, what regulates those signs?
Those,
Size of those.
first of all, there's many of them along 41. Some are in our zoning jurisdiction, some are not. The ones that are in our zoning jurisdiction are non-conforming signs because of the size. Other billboards are not in our zoning jurisdiction. They may be in a town that has their own zoning, or they may be within the city of Oshkosh.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions from on the board? Mr. Shears, are you?
I have nothing else. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Mr. Rose, thank you for your time. Any other questions? Anyone?
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
We did send this appeal out to all the towns. We did get one response from the town of Algoma. For this appeal, they are recommending denial due to lack of motion. Lack of motion. Yeah. Lack of emotion.
Oh.
Not emotion, motion. Motion. A motion.
Is that the only, step?
That's the only thing we have from them.
It went to the other towns.
It did go to all the other towns, yes.
And that was the only response?
Yeah, so far.
Okay. All right. Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
One motion made and seconded to adjourn the meeting this evening. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much for your testimony, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.